On a Sam Sports Report. The one game that can come down to a coin flip is if Baltimore beats Bengals on Sunday. Wildcard weekend would be decided by a coin toss. I think they should have Ray Lewis and Ojo Cinco - Charles Johnson do the coin flip. Ray Lewis must present a dance, and so must Chad Johnson. How about a phone flip? The Kansas City Chiefs catch a break with currently holding an ever so slightly winning percentage over the Bills. If they win over the Las Vegas, the Kansas City Chiefs, they clinch the number 1 seed. Also, Tua Tagovailoa is out, and so is Teddy Bridgewater supposed to be. Skylar Thompson will start. The Ravens will be without Lamar Jackson against the Bengals. Bears will be without Justin Fields. Nick Foles will be out for the Colts. James Conner will be out for the Steelers. DeAndre Hopkins will be out for the Cardinals. And Aaron Donald will be out for the Rams. Bills placed DeMar Hamlin on IR. With that news, there comes good news. For physicians, UMC DeMar Hamlin's breathing tube has been removed overnight. He continues to make progress. Remarkably, his neurological functioning remains intact, and was talking with family and teammates and caring teammates. The real hero here is Denny Clingington. He was credited with saving DeMar Hamilton's life. Also, broadcaster for the Bills, John Murphy, is recovering from a stroke. He returned home today. Now we'll move on to college basketball. We'll start with the local team. The Kansas Jayhawks will play the West Virginia number 3 Kansas Jayhawks. West Virginia to host. The Hawks are at really close games with just one basket won by both times. Kansas is 13-1. West Virginia is 10-4. And West Virginia has dropped 2 in a row and was number 24 before Big 12 play started. Tip is a 5 Central. KU is favored by 1.5. Again, the Mountaineers a host. After Kansas State rolls over Texas, and Kansas State and Texas score the most points in the Big 12. Chris Beards is fired, but expect him to coach someplace else. You should never expect a coach to coach someplace else who bit his wife and across the neck. Kansas State moves into the top 25, my guess is, doing a hell of a job. Jerome Tang. Baylor is favored by 6. The Wildcats are 13-1. The Bears are 10-4. Kansas State will play the Baylor Bears, number 19. The only game that will not be going on the Chiefs game and the Raiders game are, while they're not playing, Missouri and Vanderbilt. It's a local team. Mizzou is coming off a tough loss to Arkansas. Mizzou will host Vanderbilt. Mizzou is favored by 9 on CBS. Dennis Grates is off to a great start and has done a hell of a job and done a great job with the transfer portal and the scouting. The Big 12 teams match up. The Big 12 top 25 games. Well, there's one. Number 25, Iowa State at 11-2. TCU 17. TCU is favored by 5.5. The SEC top 25 matchup is number 13 at Auburn. Will play Arkansas. Auburn to host and favored by 1.5. That game tips at 7:30 Central and 8:30 Eastern on the SEC Network. Today, January 9th, is when the college football championships in football will take place. If the games went accordingly to plan, which they did not last week, it would have been the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan was number 2 and the Georgia Bulldogs are number 1. We had some very close games that decided it, and ultimately it was the Bulldogs and the Horned Frogs. Max Duggan of the TCU has had a really good year. Quentin Johnson has a good year receiver. Kendra Miller has been a good back. To be clear, TCU defense isn't exactly among the national elites defense in any particular category. It's outside the top 50, most including the defense 78th in rushing defense, play 64th in points. But make no mistake, last weekend's effort was a monumental win, not just for the TCU program, under the first-year coordinator Gillespie, but for the odd stats system. Georgia's defense, when you get off the bus, they're coming after you. Georgia is number one in the defense in the country. Georgia is also number one overall. The Dogs are favored by 12.5. Game time is at 7. I'll take the Dogs 31-21. Here's more with me and Brandon.
In order for the Seahawks to make the playoffs, for anyone interested, they need Green Bay and Washington to both lose a game and win the last two, or the Giants lose out and either Green Bay or Washington loses one of two. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'd say definitely just and I think with the QB class, it's not like this class has been good, right? Like Bryce Young's an exciting player. I don't know if the Seahawks want to go with a shorter quarterback after having Russell Wilson for 10 years. And then CJ Stroud's good, but he has some limitations there. Potentially, it might be, all Ohio State quarterbacks are throwing to 5-star receivers all the time, so it's not like you really judge them. This quarterback class isn't what we thought it was, where there's no Trevor Lawrence, right? There's no Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's a Patrick Mahomes, even though he wasn't the number one prospect in his class, but he's still obviously a great player. There's no Andrew Luck in this class, right? So I think that honestly, defensive line's a bigger need. They have 2 first-round picks, so I'm fully on board